Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you are all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and what an interesting day of Call of Duty has just concluded. A very quick day, probably one of the quickest days of the season so far. One of the series went the way we expected it to, one of them certainly did not, with many storylines coming out of this one I'm sure we're going to be able to talk about in the coming days here, because this was certainly not exactly what I expected coming into this day with, well, a new team in the Minnesota Rokkr coming in up against OpTic Gaming, one of the strongest respawn teams of the game. I mean, yeah, what a series we're going to get into a few minutes time here. Very much intrigued to hear your perspective in the comment section below. Luckily, guys, enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, this then to discuss from the Los Angeles Thieves. So the 0 to 100 episode comes out. Venom joins the lineup. And of course, that's been the big storyline this past week, right? The two amateur players, Venom and Standy, coming into LA Thieves and Minnesota Rokkr respectively. What kind of impact could they have on those teams? I mean, obviously a pretty significant one, as we're going to see in a few minutes time here. Remarkable stuff. These were the two games on the day. Empire versus Legion, OpTic versus Rokkr. The first game I thought was really going to be a pretty tight affair, and it was, to be honest, all things considered. This I thought was pretty as funny as well. I've been seeing these clips coming out from Bethard and Zuma's stream, and so, you know, when he was kind of impersonating Nameless, I think that was the clip at the end of the video at the start of the day, and so, well, honestly, a bit of a funny Twitter exchange right here. But this was game one. Crimsix went off like crazy, honestly, towards the latter half of Garrison Hardpoint. This has been a great map for Paris so far this season. Aqua, once again, was just spectacular on this map early on, but then Dallas really put some things together, and it's really interesting, this Dallas team to me right now. We'll talk about OpTic, of course, in a couple of seconds here, but Dallas seems so up and down. Sometimes they're like super on the ball, and when they're all clicking, like they're super tough to beat. They put together crazy streaks. They look very, well, pretty much untouchable. But early on in this map, it certainly was pretty much all Paris. They were winning all the rotations, and then Dallas put together a crazy streak of like 120 points in a row. I mean, they string together a number of different hard points. They win this one 250 to 200 in the end. Then they go to the search and destroy though, and as round 11 stat says right here, Paris were defeated on Garrison Hardpoint for the first time, and while OpTic 6-0 on raid control, that didn't last. FaZe on Moscow search, OpTic on checkmate hardpoint. So these two streaks at the bottom are still alive. Then we go into the game two, though. Scump gets this crazy three-piece here on Express. Honestly, such a fun map to watch. I really do enjoy the fact that at least both bomb sites are used. And Crimsix went mental on this map the other day up against Seattle Surge. I think he had like 15 kills or something. Definitely doesn't have the greatest time right here, though. 4-1 to Paris Legion early on. Then they end up closing it out 6-3, I believe. And also, as Breaking Point points out right here, it seems like the Skr music in the background has not necessarily completely disappeared, but it's not there as often as it was, which is yeah, definitely, thankfully, well, certainly my ears are thanking the CDL for making a decision to supposedly bring a new song into game, but well, still, Skr is played on occasion. 6-3 to Paris in the Surge. Then we go to the game three then, right? And this is where, I mean, Dallas Empire is so good at raid control, at least when in the clutch moments. That's why I always felt like they'd find a way over the line here, but they definitely don't make it easy for themselves. Paris looks good. Fire had a very slow map 3 and 4 here that we're going to look at in a second. I mean, I think it was double negative in this map and also in the final map or something of that ballpark as well, so definitely not the greatest couple of final maps from Fire in this series. Classic also has a bit of a difficult one, and yeah, despite Scraps and Aqua really putting on a show, to be honest, with the ARs, it was that, well, Dallas were just too good, and Shotzzy turned up when it mattered. I mean, Huke had his moments as well, and those are the type of individual playmakers you need to come alive if you're the Dallas Empire to get over the line in the series. As you can see, I mean, Fire has a 14 and 28 performance right here, not what you'd expect out of him, and yeah, the Dallas Empire get over the line. Then they go to another raid on the hard point, and they end up closing that out. As Defrag points out right here, pretty interestingly, Paris John, right? Because how long could this team last if it keeps underperforming? Of course, losing to Dallas is, well, yeah, it's not exactly the worst result in the world, but there are certainly going to be some questions, and I'm pretty sure teams will be considering changes, but yeah, Paris have kept their wallet pretty tight, let's just say. They don't even have a proper substitute signed, so whether they'll actually consider changes, who really knows. They've looked pretty good so far this season, but yeah, this was one of those defeats that you felt like maybe they'd find a way to be a bit more competitive. Dallas closed out in a 3-1, and yeah, they certainly did come to play when it mattered, and yeah, despite some difficult scrim results for the Dallas Empire these last few days, they get over the line up against the Paris Legion. Yeah, they closed out as follows. Really consistent team performances, right? You don't often see a 1.12 being the highest, a 1.06 being the lowest on an entire team, so impressive stuff from the Dallas. Consistency across the board. They get the job done, and well, these are the rest of the matches they're going to be playing. Of course, OpTic Chicago is the final one they're going to be playing, and well, I was expecting this to be a blockbuster. I'm sure it still will be, but if OpTic perform how they did in the next series we're going to discuss, maybe it won't exactly be like that. At Scrims, they're seriously got to work on our Surge. Excited to get back to work on that one. And this then was really the blockbuster series of the day. That was Chicago versus Standy, or Standy's new Minnesota Rokkr team. He comes in. We talked about this change the other day. Maniac comes out. Standy comes in. Totally a change that I was super on board with, the idea of bringing in this young gun up and coming SMG talent. Certainly the way to go. There were question marks whether accuracy should be the man to stay in. Should you have put maybe Maniac to the main assault rifle instead and tried that composition out of the lineup? but certainly Stanley seemed to be a step in the right direction in terms of the pacing on the team, and he absolutely came to play. I'm not sure we've seen a debut performance in a series like this up against the top tier of competition in OpTic Chicago for a very long time, and well, Stanley was completely on another level right here. Dominant series from him. We'll just have to hop into it. First of all, I mentioned this because it was raid. All three of the first 3 maps were raids. I was like, fabulous, I wish I got this elite play more often because all I tend to get is checkmate, but it doesn't actually extend beyond the raid into some of the Moscows because, well, one of the fastest 3-0s you were going to see. I thought maybe this would go the way of OpTic. Indeed, it does not. Early on in this hardpoint, and you do have to wonder exactly what's going through OpTic's head when they come into this series, right? Because they're playing a new Minnesota Rokkr team. Of course, we do know the idea that, okay, look, we have honeymoon periods, they exist. When a new team forms, especially in the respawns, they can tend to step up their game. In Search and Destroy, often it's somewhat more difficult because you don't have set strats and stuff like this. But even in the Search, we'll talk about in a second, they do a very stand-up job indeed. Stand-up job, pun certainly not intended. Maybe I'll start using that more often though. But yeah, as you can see, Dashy 4 in 14 early on right here. Stanley's already double positive at this time. You know, Dashy finishes off like 7 in 18 or something. I'm pretty sure I put it on the thumbnail as they get 100 point clubbed in map 1. Not something I was expecting to see. He goes 23 in 13 on the raid, 250 to 81. I mean, I was kind of mind blown, right? I came into the series expecting, okay, Rokkr might put up a fight, but OpTic should certainly get the job done. Probably a 3-0, 3-1, something of the sort. Not how it goes by any means. Stanley just completely crushes them. 250 to 81, pretty mind blown. I mean, Accuracy just sits here sipping the water bottle. The rest of the team's getting really hyped though, and great to see good vibes out of the Minnesota Rokkr. And yeah, Stanley up against the stiffest of competition, really, apart from Atlanta FaZe. I mean, yeah, what a turnout from him. Certainly a lot of teams, I'm sure, looking right now and seeing the young talent that some of these teams have acquired and thinking, oh, well, we need to get on this train sooner rather than later. And these are the stats in the game one. I mean, Dashy goes 7 in 18. Not a map you see out of him too often, but the rest of the series wasn't exactly too hot. An absolutely dominant overall map 1 KD from the Minnesota Rokkr on the whole of it. Then we go into the Search and Destroy, and OpTic have a couple of nice rounds early on. And this is where you think, okay, OpTic are going to bounce back. Yes, slow map 1, bit complacent maybe going into it. Let's just focus up, execute our strats, and win this Search and Destroy. Because typically, as I say, if you're a Minnesota Rokkr, you're a brand new team. Stanley's never played, you've probably not practiced Search at all these last couple of days, and OpTic should have some set strats and know how to play this map for, you know, they haven't, of course, changed their team the entire season long. So you would expect them to certainly be favourites in the Search and Destroys. Now, having said that, of course, I think they were 0-2 on this map, not the greatest on raid Search and Destroy, but early on they're looking pretty good. But yeah, Minnesota Rokkr claw their way back. It goes, I think, 2-0 to OpTic, then 2-2, then 4-2 to OpTic, and there was one round especially where Dashy gets the first blood on Accuracy. He shoots him through the wall over at top pool house, and for some reason, like, OpTic completely decide to give up mid-map. Mid-map is such an important element of the map on raid Search and Destroy, especially given the defense just get gifted it if you want to take it over. They decide not to. Stanley sits in a corner mid, gets a kill on Dashy, is in the perfect position to just stop the bomb defuse, and well, OpTic just can't get the job done, and that was a crucial round to go up 5-4, then end up going down 5-4, and then end up losing the maps. They go down 2-0 in the series. I mean, remarkable scenes, as Joe DeLuca says. The classic Aisha Curry, I've lost all respect, sorry, this is absolutely rigged for my deal ratings. Not sure which, I will not be silent, just saw it live story. So yeah, copy pasta if you guys are not aware. But certainly, like, one of the most surprising couple of first maps I've ever seen, and Stanley 13-4. I mean, look at this scoreboard right here. Accuracy negative, Priestahh sitting at even 7-7, Attach goes 4-6, and Stanley's on a +9, 13-4. Like, OpTic can't get anything done. I mean, this kid just completely came to play right here, and it's so impressive. As easy maxes as well, Minnesota 8-2 in opening duels that map, and made it so much easier to win when you're 4 versus 3 in most rounds. Unbelievable stuff. Maniac also tweeted out, no Maniac, no Major. Well, apparently, let's just save that tweet for another time, because not how it went down. And then we go into the raid control round. Okay, you lose the raid search, not exactly the greatest map for OpTic. The raid hardpoint was certainly unexpected, but raid control is OpTic's go-to. They haven't lost this yet. They're 6-0 on the map. Dashy and Formula dominant on this. This is the time, okay, you win this map, you win the Moscow, like, you're pretty good at that one as well. And then we can take it to a Search and Destroy and try and execute a little bit better. And the reverse sweep is certainly still on the cards. But yeah, once again, OpTic come out good early on. As Octane points out, honeymoon goes absolutely crazy, as it certainly does for this team right now. And Minnesota Rokkr just do not slow down. Early on, OpTic, I think, go up 1-0. Minnesota bounce back on the defense. And then it was that next offense that they really took over control of, right? Attached did some crazy things over by the basketball court. Stanley once again takes over the latter half of the round, getting some crucial kills to effectively spawn from OpTic in their base. So, you know, disorganized the OpTic forces were, and they get shut down by Minnesota's offense, and then they go to their offense, and they also can't get it done. 3-1 to Rokkr in this control, and I mean, that was just remarkable. I don't really know what more to say about it. The teamwork from Rokkr was super on point. The pacing seemed to be way better. OpTic clearly came into this series very much unprepared, right? Like, they clearly didn't expect these types of levels coming out of Minnesota. They probably didn't, prepare properly ready for this series, thinking that it was going to be as stiff a competition as they had to deal with in the end. And not the greatest series to lose for OpTic, of course. We'll have a look, I'm sure, tomorrow at exactly what the standings look like in terms of the group play, but not the one you want to lose, because every series you lose takes away a good chance you've got of actually coming top 1 in the group, and that, of course, gives you the best standing possible for the major. And yes, Minnesota Rokkr did get a 3-2 victory last time against Dallas, but this was on a complete another level. How good are Rokkr, or was it just OpTic like really having a poor series, right? Because Rokkr looks super good right here, but I mean, I'm sure there's other sides to the story. As Accuracy says, GG's OpTic, we won 3-0, and this is where kind of the trash talk starts to come out a little bit, nothing too spicy, but some pretty good stuff. We won 3-0 with the smiley face. Burn says that smiley face is for the haters. Yes, indeed it was. And well, also for the Minnesota Rokkr, when does OpTic play? The kind of classic thing. Little bit of stirring up some drama with the OpTic fans on the timeline. And again, Stocksman even says this, pretty well connected within the COD scene, like not particularly happy with OpTic's performance right there. And Mutineers say this as well, the OpTic fans are coming. So certainly not the greatest showing from OpTic. I mean, they play Mutineers later on, right? So Mutineers, obviously, they're looking at OpTic and thinking, wow, are OpTic going to bounce back with a vengeance? Or are they going to continue to suffer somewhat given this poor performance here against the Minnesota Rokkr? And well, if Rokkr keep playing like this, and if Stanley keeps playing like this, I mean, the series he had right here is pretty tough to replicate, right? Like, the overall series standings were absolutely insane. And look, I'm not expecting Stanley to keep up a 1.52. You can see the overall stats right here. Dashy with a 0.6, Scump with a 0.8, the best on the team was Former with a 0.92. Stanley has a 1.52, right? You're not expecting him to keep this up. The plus 22 over the series performance that he does right here, remarkable. You imagine in future series you drop somewhat down below 0.152, but if you still cannot keep up a good level of performance, even if it's not dropping crazy KD numbers, then well, this clearly seems like a force to be reckoned with. More to discuss, I'm sure, here in the coming days. And as Envoy says as well, like, just didn't play like us today. We go again Sunday against the Florida Mutineers. GG's Rokkr. Got a couple of days to get back on their BS, really do OpTic Chicago. But enjoy to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Should other teams take note of this? I'm sure they will do. And what does it mean for these two squads going forwards? Thank you for watching as always. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well. And I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.